oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Jaja, hear my plea.
Give me a rest, no salt mix. Every time me rise, I don't want you they praise. Give me a rest, no salt mix. And my time fi smile, and my time fi get blessed. Give me a rest, no salt mix. Every time me rise, I don't want you they praise. Give me a rest, no salt mix. And my time fi smile, and my time fi get blessed.
Many years of famine, many years of drought. I'm lost in a maze.
So Jamaican Constitution Chapter 1 is the preliminary. So one, the interpretation. In this constitution, right, unless otherwise stated or provided, first point, acts of parliament, any law made by parliament, right? 2, the appointed day means on the 6th of August 1962, which is when Jamaica got independence, right? This will be a feature of this constitution going forward because it's a reference to that date in which this constitution was vetoed, it was brought to the table, right? The broad seal means the broad seal of Jamaica. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm not sure if it's the coat of arms seal, but I'm gonna look it up for the next time. The cabinet means the cabinet established by section 69 of the Constitution. Clerk or deputy clerk means clerk or deputy clerk respectively in either house as the context may require. Commonwealth means the Commonwealth and any country to which that refers to, which basically are former colonies of the British Empire and others. There are other countries that are also members of the Commonwealth that didn't share the same issue, but mostly countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and those type of countries that were former colonies of Britain. And consolidated funds, as seen in section 140. And when they say these sections, is that basically a reference point, so you can go look them up within this constitution. And next point, constituency means any area of Jamaica having a separate representation in the House of Representatives. So basically like the constituency where it's represented within the House of Parliament by a member of Parliament. So it's this defining areas basically. Defense force means any naval, military, or air force of the Crown in the right of the government of Jamaica. The financial year, right, means the 12 months ending on the first day of March in any year or on such other date as may form time to time prescribed by Act of Parliament. So basically saying the financial year starts April 1st and ends March 31st. That's the cycle, unless the Parliament states otherwise, basically. So like a period like this, we're in 2020. So basically due to the outbreak, it could have been a different financial year set, for example. But it's on the 1st of April to the 31st of March. The Gazette, which means the Jamaica Gazette, that's the next point. I think that maybe outlet which the government used to disseminate information. House means either House of Representatives or the Senate as the context may require. So when they say house, that's what they're talking to. Jamaica has the meaning, that's the next point, has the meaning attributed to the expression of Jamaica in the Independence Act. Law, that's the next point, includes any instrument having the force of a law or unwritten rule of law, and lawful and lawfully shall be considered accordingly. So laws cover both written and unwritten rules, right? So basically it's the social contract, whether written or unwritten, and the both shall be construed accordingly, right? Oath of allegiance means the oath of allegiance set out in the first schedule of this constitution. Parliament, this refers to Parliament of Jamaica. Police officer, this means any member of the constabulary force or any force by whatever name called for the time being ceding to the function of a constabulary force. So this means basically municipal police, forest ranger, any law enforcement department, whether it be fisheries, coast guard, or even the JDF setting, they'll be classified as a police officer in the instance that they act in such capacity for the reasons of this constitution. President, next point, president, the deputy president means president and deputy president of Senate respectively under section 42. Privy council means privy council established by section 82. Public office means any office of annulment in public service. Public officer means any holder of a public office and includes any person appointed to in any such office. Public service. Now this means subject to the provision of sections 5 and 6 of this section. The service of the Crown in a civil capacity in respect of the government of Jamaica includes service as member of the Judicial Commission, Public Service Commission, or Police Service Commission. Includes public service in respect of the former colony of Jamaica. Sessions. What are sessions? This means in relation to the House sittings and the commencement when it means after the Constitution comes into force or after prorogation or dissolution of Parliament at any time. Terminating when the Parliament is prorogued or dissolved without having been prorogued. Terminating when Parliament is prorogued or dissolved without having been prorogued. Sitting. This is in relation to a House, a period during which the House sits continuously without adjournment and includes any period during which the House is in committee. So this is basically Parliament, Senate sections in the House of Representatives. That's at Garden House, where they normally have sectoral debates and make budget presentations and pass and veto bills, etc. Those are sittings within sessions, because sitting is in relation to the House period in which the House sits continuously without adjournment. So basically, and the next point is the point of Speaker and Deputy Speakers respectively, which refers to section 43, saves where the Constitution otherwise provides or requires. Any reference in this Constitution to the appointment of office shall be construed as including a reference to an appointment on promotion or transfer to that office and the appointment of a person to perform the functions of that office during any period which it is vacant or during which the holder is unable thereof to perform those functions, right? B. Any preference in this Constitution to the holder of an office by term of designating its office shall be construed as including a reference to any person for the time being lawfully performing the function of that office, or where the Constitution's power is conferred on any person or the authority to appoint a person to perform the function of any office if the holder is unable himself to perform its function. Any such appointment shall not be called into question on the grounds that the holder of the office was unable to perform that function. So if I appoint someone, it should not be called into the question if I was appointed to do so on the grounds that I myself is unable to do so, basically. So I made the appointment knowing that the person is qualified. So not because I'm not qualified makes his or her appointment become be controversial or become into question. Any reference to this Constitution to the holder of an office by the term designated shall be construed including a reference to any person for the time lawfully performing all the functions of that office. For the purposes of this constitution, a person shall not be considered holding a public office by reason only of the fact that he or she is receipt of a pension or otherwise allowance in public service. So basically, you have to be receiving a pension to be holding an office in public service or have a pension fund to be contributing to it, or you should be having receiving pensions, or you're not able to hold public office. That's what this part says, right? For any reason, you have to be the one. But for the purposes of this constitution, it goes on to say in 6 that the public service does not include service in the office of Governor General, President, Deputy President, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Minister, Parliamentary Secretary, Leader of Opposition, Senator, Member of House of Representatives, members of the Privy Council, Judge of the Supreme Court, Judge of Court of Appeal, Clerk, Deputy Clerk, or of either house or service on the personal staff of the Governor General, subject to provisions of Section 79 of this Constitution, service in the office of Attorney General. Reference to this Constitution to the powers to remove a public officer from office shall be construed and include reference to any power conferred by any law to require or permit that officer to retire from public service, providing that A, nothing in this subsection shall be construed as conferring any personal or authority or power to require judge or Supreme Court or Court of Appeal or Director of Public Prosecutions or Auditor General to retire from public service. So they are exempt. Any power conferred by law to permit a person to retire from public service shall, in case of any public officer who is removed by office, some person or authority other than a commission established by this Constitution, vest in the Public Service Commission, where power is conferred by the Constitution to make any proclamation or order to give any directions, the power shall be construed as including a power exercisable in like manner to amend or revoke any such proclamations, order, or directions. No provision of this Constitution, right, that any person or authority shall not be subject to the directions of or control of any other person or authority in exercising any function under this Constitution shall be construed as precluding a court from exercising jurisdiction, right? In relation to any question whether that person or authority has performed those functions in accordance with this Constitution or any other law. 10. Any reference to this Constitution to a law enacted before the commencement shall, unless the context otherwise required, be construed as a reference to that law and enforced immediately before the appointed date. So basically, documents that and laws that predated this Constitution should only be used as reference source and not be contradicting this Constitution. However, it can still be sourced as a reference material, basically, right? 11. Where a person is required by this Constitution to make an oath, he shall be permitted, if he so desires, to comply with requirements by making an affirmation. 12. The interpretation of the Act of 1889 as enforced on the appointed day shall apply with the necessary adoptions of purpose of interpreting this Constitution and otherwise in relation thereto as it applies for the purpose of interpreting and in relation to acts of Parliament of the United Kingdom. The second part of this chapter goes into the effects of this Constitution. right? So we're moving on to chapter 2, which is citizenship.